They're doing it again. Dancing in the streets, throwing confetti, kissing strangers. VJ Day, they're calling it. Victory over Japan. The war is over. The boys are coming home. I stood on the corner of Market Street in Philadelphia and watched them celebrate, and all I could think was, you poor bastards, you have no idea what's coming. I'm 52 years old. I was 21 when I went to France in 1917, Private First Class Robert Mitchell, 79th Infantry Division. We saw action at Montfaucon, Meuse-Argonne, places that don't mean anything to these kids celebrating. Why would they? That was the last war. Ancient history. Their war was different, they think. Modern, mechanized. Not like the muddy, senseless slaughter we endured. They're wrong. War is always the same. The weapons change. The uniforms change. The reasons they give you change. But what it does to you, that never changes. I watch these young men in their dress uniforms, fresh-faced, proud, medals on their chests, and I see ghosts. I see what they'll become, what the war will make them in the years to come. They don't see it yet. They're still riding high on victory, on relief, on the simple fact that they survived. Give it time. The war isn't done with them yet. It's never done with you. My wife, Eleanor, she's at home, couldn't come to the parade, said the crowds would be too much. That's what she tells people. The truth is, she can't stand to see me like this, can't stand watching me watch these boys and knowing what I'm thinking. She lived through my war with me, watched me come home broken and spend 27 years trying to put myself back together. She doesn't want to watch these boys go through the same thing, and I came alone. Had to see it, had to witness it, maybe to remind myself that it really happened, that I'm not the only one, that there are thousands, millions of us carrying this weight. Or maybe I'm just a bitter old man who can't let go. Either way, here I am. The parade started at noon. Military bands, marching troops, tanks rolling down Market Street. Different tanks than we had. Shermans instead of Renaults. Same purpose, though. Same result. Metal coffins that burned when they got hit. The crowd was massive, tens of thousands. People hanging out of windows, standing on cars, children on their fathers' shoulders. Everyone waving flags, cheering, crying happy tears. Signs everywhere. Welcome home, heroes. We won. Thank God it's over. I remember our parade, November 1918. Different street, same celebration, same signs, same tears, same belief that it was over, that we'd won, that the boys were home safe and everything would be fine now. We believed it too, for a little while. There was a soldier near me in the crowd. Couldn't have been more than 23, 24. Pacific Theater looked like. Tan instead of the pale you get in Europe. He had his girl with him. Pretty thing. Holding on to his arm like she'd never let go. They were kissing, laughing, making plans. Going to get married next month. Going to buy a house. Going to have kids. Going to live the life they'd dreamed about while he was gone. I wanted to tell him. Wanted to grab his shoulder and say, it's not going to be that easy. The nightmares will start in a few months. You'll wake up screaming and you won't be able to tell her why. You'll drink to forget. But it won't work. You'll push her away because you can't explain what you've seen, what you've done, and she'll never understand the distance between who you were and who you are now. I didn't say anything. What right did I have? Let him have this moment. Let him have today, the rest of his life, to figure out what he's carrying. An old man next to me, older than me, must have been 65, 70. He was crying. I thought maybe he had a son in the parade, a grandson coming home. Then I saw the pin on his lapel. Spanish-American War Veterans, 1898. He caught me looking. You too? He asked. France, I said. Meuse-Argonne. He nodded. Didn't need to say more. We stood there together, two old men in a sea of celebration, and we understood each other perfectly. We'd both watched our war end, Both believed the lie. Both learned the truth. They don't know yet, he said, watching the young soldiers march past. No, I said, they don't. Will you tell them? Would they listen? He shook his head. No, we didn't listen either. The tanks rolling past reminded me of the first time I saw one. Saint-Mihiel, September 1918. French Renaults, tiny things compared to these Shermans, but they seemed like monsters then, mechanical beasts belching smoke and noise. We thought they'd end the war, thought they'd save lives, break the stalemate. They just made it worse, made the killing more efficient. I watched one Sherman roll by, commander standing in the turret, waving to the crowd. I wondered how many men he'd killed, how many times he'd pulled that trigger, watched the shell fly, watched something, someone, explode. I wondered if he saw their faces when he closed his eyes. I still see mine. Private Tommy Richardson, 19 years old, from Pittsburgh, took a bullet through the throat during the Meuse-Argonne offensive. I held him while he drowned in his own blood. Took him 7 minutes to die. 7 minutes of gurgling, choking. His eyes locked on mine, terrified, confused, asking a question I couldn't answer. Sergeant Frank Martinez, Mexican kid from Texas. Funny guy, always cracking jokes, keeping morale up. Gas got him. Mustard gas. Burned his lungs out. Died over 3 days, coughing up pieces of his insides. The medics gave him morphine, but it wasn't enough. Nothing was enough. Corporal James O'Brien, best friend I had over there. We enlisted together, shipped over together, fought together, planned to open a bar together when we got home. Shell landed in his foxhole. I was 15 yards away. When the smoke cleared, there was a crater and some pieces of uniform. No body to send home. His mother wrote me asking for details. I lied, told her it was quick, that he didn't suffer. I see them all. Every single one. Not just my unit. All of them. The German boy I shot at Montfaucon. Couldn't have been older than 17. I watched him fall. Watched him try to get up. Watched him stop moving. His mother probably got a letter, too. Probably believed the same lies. The band playing Stars and Stripes Forever pulled me back. The crowd was singing along, patriotic fervor running high. Same songs we sang, same fervor, same certainty that God was on our side, that we were righteous, that the enemy was evil and deserved destruction. Same lies we told ourselves to make killing easier. The parade continued. More soldiers, more tanks, more bands, more celebration. I started to feel sick, not physically, emotionally. The disconnect between what they were celebrating and what these boys would carry for the rest of their lives. The weight of killing, the weight of watching friends die, the weight of surviving when better men didn't. I'd carried that weight for 27 years. It hadn't gotten lighter. Eleanor tried to help. God knows she tried. She was patient when I couldn't sleep, understanding when I couldn't work, loving when I couldn't love her back. She never complained about the drinking years, the 5 years after I came home when I lived in the bottom of a bottle trying to drown the memories. Never complained about the night terrors, about being woken up by my screaming, about the times I couldn't remember who she was or where I was. She stayed. Raised our daughter mostly alone because I wasn't really there. I was physically present, but mentally still in France, still in the trenches, still watching Tommy Richardson die. Our daughter Sarah, she's 23 now. Never knew her father before the war. Only knew this haunted version. I tried to be a good father, tried to be present, to play with her, to attend school events. But there was always this wall between us, this distance I couldn't cross. She'd hug me, and I'd feel nothing. She'd tell me about her day, and I'd hear nothing. I was somewhere else. Always somewhere else. She got married last year. Nice boy, didn't serve, 4F, flat feet. At the wedding, she asked me to dance, father-daughter dance. I held her and tried to be present, tried to be the father she deserved. But all I could think about was Tommy Richardson, about how he'd never get to dance with his daughter, about how he'd never get to be a father at all, about how I was here and he wasn't, and there was no reason for it, no justice, just random chance. Sarah cried during that dance. I thought it was happy tears. Eleanor told me later they weren't. Sarah had been trying to connect with me her whole life, and I'd never let her in. That dance was her giving up, accepting that she'd never really have a father, just this shell of a man who looked like him. That's what the war took from me, not my life. That would have been easier. It took my ability to live, to feel, to connect. It took 27 years of moments I should have cherished and turned them into nothing. Empty years where I was physically present but emotionally dead. And these boys in the parade, these celebrating soldiers, they had no idea. They thought they were coming home. They thought the war was over. The war is never over. A group of soldiers broke formation, started dancing with girls in the crowd, laughing, spinning, celebrating. One of them couldn't have been older than 19. Baby face, wide smile, whole life ahead of him. That's when I broke. I don't know why that moment specifically. Maybe it was the innocence. Maybe it was seeing myself at that age, before I knew what carrying the weight meant. Maybe it was knowing that smile wouldn't last, that in 6 months, a year, 2 years, it would be gone, replaced by the 1,000-yard stare we all developed. The look of men who'd seen too much, done too much, lost too much. I started crying. Not quiet tears, sobbing. Couldn't stop it, couldn't control it. 27 years of holding it together, and I fell apart on a Philadelphia street corner watching strangers celebrate. The Spanish-American War veteran, he put his hand on my shoulder. Didn't say anything, didn't need to. He understood. He'd been where I was, probably broke down at our parade in 1918, watching us celebrate, knowing what was coming. They'll be okay, he said finally. Some of them, not all, but some. Will they? I asked. Are we okay? He didn't answer. We both knew the truth. A cop came over, asked if I was all right. I nodded, wiped my face, told him I was fine. He didn't believe me. I could see it in his eyes. But what was he going to do? Arrest me for crying? He moved on. The parade was ending. The formal procession was over, but the celebration continued. People flooding the streets, still dancing, still singing. The war was over. Victory was won. Everything would be fine now. I needed to leave. Needed to get away from the noise, the joy, the innocence. It was suffocating. I started walking, pushing through the crowd, heading home. A young soldier, couldn't have been back more than a week, stopped me. Saw the VFW pin on my jacket. You serve, sir? He asked. France, I said. First war. His eyes lit up. My grandfather was there. Battle of Belleau Wood. Said it was the toughest fighting he'd ever seen. It was, I said. He got to come home, though. Got to live his life. Said the war was hell, but surviving it made him appreciate everything more. Made him grateful. I wanted to ask if his grandfather had nightmares, if he drank, if he could hold his children without feeling empty inside. But I didn't. Tell him a fellow veteran says hello, I said. The kid smiled, shook my hand, moved on. Maybe his grandfather was one of the lucky ones. Maybe he really did come home. Maybe he found peace. Or maybe he just got better at lying. I made it home around sunset. Eleanor was in the kitchen making dinner. She looked at me, saw my face, knew what kind of day it had been. Bad? She asked. Yeah. She hugged me. I let her. Couldn't return it. Never could, but I let her. She was used to it by now. We ate dinner in silence. We'd gotten good at silence over the years, better than talking. Talking required being present, being vulnerable, explaining things that couldn't be explained. Silence was easier. After dinner, I went to the basement. That's where I kept my things from the war. My uniform, my helmet, my medals, my rifle, deactivated. Harmless now, but I couldn't bring myself to throw it away. Letters from men who didn't make it home. Photographs of faces I'll never forget. I hadn't looked at this stuff in years. Couldn't. Too painful. But tonight, after the parade, after watching those boys celebrate, I needed to remember. Needed to remind myself it was real. That it happened. That I'm not crazy. I found a photograph. My unit, taken in September 1918, before Meuse-Argonne. 23 men. I'm in the back row, third from the left. Young, skinny, trying to look tough. Tommy Richardson is next to me. That half smile he always had. Frank Martinez is in the front, arms crossed, looking confident. James O'Brien is at the end, already planning our bar. Of those 23 men, 6 came home. 6. And of those 6, I only know what happened to 2. Me and a guy named Patterson who moved to California. Lost touch with everyone else. Couldn't bear to see them. Seeing them meant remembering. Remembering meant feeling. Feeling meant pain. I looked at that photograph for an hour. Studied every face. Tried to remember their names, their stories, their dreams. Most of them died before they turned 25. Died in mud. Died screaming. Died for reasons we were told were noble but felt meaningless when you were holding their bodies. The boys from this war, from World War II as they're calling it now, they'll take their own photographs, make their own memories, lose their own friends. And in 27 years, they'll stand on street corners watching the next generation celebrate the next war, and they'll feel this same hollow weight. Because that's what war does. It doesn't end. It just moves from generation to generation, from father to son. An inheritance of trauma we pass down like family recipes, except instead of teaching them how to make bread, we're teaching them how to carry ghosts. My daughter Sarah came by later that night, checking on me. She knew the parade would be hard. She's perceptive like that. Got it from her mother. "You okay, Dad?" she asked. "Fine," I said. The same lie I'd been telling for 27 years. She sat down next to me. We didn't talk, just sat together in the silence. After a while, she put her head on my shoulder. I didn't move, didn't respond, but I didn't pull away either. That was progress, I suppose. In our family, not pulling away counted as affection. "I love you, Dad," she said quietly. I wanted to say it back, wanted to feel it, wanted to be the father she deserved. But the words stuck in my throat like they always did, trapped behind whatever wall the war had built inside me. She waited, hoping, probably, that this time would be different. That this time I'd say it back. I didn't. I never did. She squeezed my hand and left. I heard her crying in the hallway, heard Eleanor comforting her, heard them talk about me like I wasn't there, like I was already dead. Maybe I was. Maybe I died in France with Tommy and Frank and James. Maybe what came back was just an echo, a ghost pretending to be alive. The boys from this war will have their own Eleanors, their own Sarahs, their own people they'll fail to love because love requires being present, being vulnerable, being alive. And they'll sit in basements in 30 years looking at photographs of dead friends and wondering why they survived when better men didn't. There's no answer. There never is. You survived because bullets missed you, because shells landed somewhere else, because you were lucky and they weren't. And then you spend the rest of your life carrying the weight of that luck, wishing you'd been unlucky. wishing you'd died when dying was easy and living wasn't this slow torture of remembering. I'm 52 years old. I survived the war 27 years ago. I've had 27 years of peace, of safety, of freedom. And every single day I've wished I was back in France, because at least there everyone was dead or dying. At least there this emptiness made sense. At least there I wasn't failing everyone who tried to love me. The parade is over. The boys are home. The war is won. But the war is never won. It just changes location, moves from the battlefield to the heart, from trenches to living rooms, from no man's land to the space between you and everyone you should love but can't. I survived the Great War, but I never came home. None of us did. And these boys, these celebrating soldiers, dancing in the streets, kissing their girls, planning their futures, they don't know it yet, but they never came home either. They're already ghosts, just like me.